Students, I'm glad you could join us for art class today. Today, I'm very excited to do this project with you because I think you're going to want to keep this as a gift to give to someone special when we get finished with it. You're going to need project number 6, our ceramic clay leaf dish. And yes, you heard me right. We are going to be working with clay today. And I hope that it's going to turn out into a project that you're going to want to give as a gift to someone, like I said. So let's get started. You have a ball of clay. And whether you're using air dry clay, that's what I'm using today, or you have the kind of clay that you would have to bake in the oven, just follow your directions and your on-site teacher will help you to complete those directions. So we're going to get started right away with our very first step, which is with your hands, you're going to get a little bit dirty today. You're going to take your clay and you're going to knead it. Now you might think, well, Mrs. Kohanowitz, that kind of sounds like we're making bread. Well, it's kind of the same thing. Just like you would make bread if you were to bake it, you're going to knead it. That just means that you're going to squish it all around until it's soft and it forms a nice ball. So you're going to work that into a ball with your hands. You can even use your work surface. I'm on my table. I'm going to rub it around on my table with my hand just till I get a nice size ball. And then you can see, now that we've done that, we're going to look at step number 2, and you're going to take your clay ball and put it inside of a little resealable plastic bag. It's like a sandwich size bag that you might have for a sandwich, and then seal that up. And actually what I like to do is I'm not going to seal mine because then that way I can move it a little bit easier, and that extra air is going to make it easier for me to roll my clay when I go to flatten it. And then I'm going to stick that on my table, and as we look at our third step, you're going to have a choice here on your third step. And I want you to use whatever you have, whatever's easier for you. You can use your hands to flatten the ball of clay, or you can see up here that I have a rolling pin that you can use to flatten your clay. And it just makes it a little bit easier for you to get your clay to have an even, so that it looks even all the way across. You don't want it to have one side that's taller than the other. So use your hand or use a rolling pin. If you don't have one of those, you could also use a water bottle or a cup that has a smooth side, and that will make it a little bit easier. Now you want to make your ball, you want to flatten it so that it's only about 1/4 of an inch thick. And 1/4 of an inch is about, half of your pinky nail. That's about how thick it needs to be. If you make your clay piece, if you flatten it and it's too thin, it'll break after it dries, and we wouldn't want that to happen. So I have my ball of clay right here, and I'm not going to start on the side. I'm going to take my rolling pin and just straight down, I'm going to start flattening it just a little bit, and then I'm just going to rock it from side to side, back and forth, just enough till I get my clay flattened to the shape that I need for my leaf. Now you saw in your supply list that you needed about a medium-sized leaf. So you want to make sure that when you flatten your clay that it's going to fit, here's my leaf right here, that it's going to fit your leaf. So if your leaf is a little bit bigger, just make sure that your clay is a little bit bigger. And if you need to have a bigger piece of clay to begin with, that's fine. If you don't need as much, let's say your leaf is little, then take a little bit out of your ball, and then you'll have some more clay for next time to make something else. So I'm going to make sure that I have that flattened. And after I do that, now that I have it flattened, if you look back at your directions, once you get it flattened, you're going to take it out of your sandwich bag. Now you might think, well, Mrs. Kohanowitz, why did we put it in the sandwich bag? Why couldn't I just do it on my desk or on my table? Because if you do it in the sandwich bag, it's going to keep you from getting fingerprints all over your clay. It'll keep it nice and smooth so that all you're seeing is your leaf. And then to take it out, if it's stuck to the sides, turn it over, loosen the side of the bag, and then it will pop out really nicely and it won't be stuck to your plastic bag. So once we stick that on top, now here's the fun part. You're going to take your leaf and you're going to stick it on top of your clay. And you can see, I'm going to hold it up so that you can see how I did this. You're going to stick your leaf right in the center of your clay. And then that way, it's going to, when you push down on that leaf, it's going to create an imprint or a design. And once you peel that leaf off, you'll be able to see the leaf's veins and the whole outline of that leaf, and it'll be really neat. So we're going to go ahead and flatten that, and you can use your fingers just like this. But I'm also going to use my rolling pin just a little bit because it will help make sure that I get every single part of that leaf in there. I'm not pushing down really hard because I don't want to make my leaf dish too thin, but I just want to make sure that I get my leaf imprinted in there really well. And if you get a piece of leaf that rolls up on you a little bit, just take your fingers and kind of fix it. Push it back down in there, and then you'll get a good clean edge on your leaf. So now my leaf is imprinted into my clay. And the next part then is I'm going to peel my leaf off. And when I do, I want you to watch. I'm going to hold it just like this so that you can see how it's going to look. You might have a stem kind of like I do, or a little bit longer of a piece. Let's see what it looks like when I peel it off. Be really gentle. And once you peel that leaf off, do you see the veins and the edges of your leaf? You can see it right there. Now what we're going to do, after we get that design in, you're going to put your leaf aside, and then you're going to take your toothpick and you're going to go all the way around the edges. I'm going to start this one so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Around the edges of your leaf, you're going to cut away all of the clay that you don't need. So you kind of get to be a surgeon really and cut out all the parts that you don't need. So you can see I cut that piece out. I'm going to cut off this piece. And you know what? Be a good steward. Keep all that extra clay. Make it into another little ball so that you can make something else with it. But you can see I'm just following the outline, the edge of my leaf. And I am taking that and cutting away all the extra so that I have a nice clean edge. So that when I get done with my leaf, it's going to look like this. Now, some of you, depending on what kind of a leaf you chose, you might have just a very smooth edge on your leaf. My leaf, if you can see from my real leaf, I have some edges or some notches on the sides of my leaf. So that makes it even more fun because you can take your toothpick and cut out all of those tiny little notches along the edges of your leaf, and then it gives it even more of a real look to it. Now if you look, I wanted you to compare something. Here is my clay piece, my clay leaf. Here is my real leaf. If you just look at my hands like that, holding those up, you can tell that one is thicker than the other. And that's something that we call 3D. When something is 3D, it has height, width, and depth. So you can see, here's my height, then my width, and my depth of my clay leaf. So now I'm going to set that aside, and you're going to let that dry. Now, if you're using air dry clay, you're going to let it dry overnight, and then the next time that you touch it, it'll be all dry. But before you totally set it aside, you want to make it into a dish. You don't want it to be flat or it won't be able to be used. So take that leaf, and you're going to put it in the palm of your hand. And I'm going to use this one that I didn't quite finish, but just so you can see what I'm talking about a little bit more. You're going to form your dish shape. So what you're going to do is put it in the palm of your hand and use your fingers to kind of form that dish shape. You can see that I'm kind of getting a bowl or a rounded shape out of my leaf dish so that it will look like this. And then that way it can be used for all kinds of different things. Now that you've done that, you can take it and set it aside, and it will dry in that position. And when it does, this is what you'll end up with. And you can see, if you're looking at my hand, it's no longer flat. If you compare these two, this one is flat, this one is curved. This one makes my leaf dish. It has that dished shape. Now once those are dry, here's the fun part too. You're going to take the set brush out of your watercolor set, and we're not going to use your actual watercolors today. We're going to use a different kind of paint because you want to use, we're going to use some fall colors. So you're going to choose like a coppery bronze color for your leaf because that's what most leaves look like after they fall off of a tree. And you're going to use your set brush to paint your leaf. So I'm going to start painting this one just a little bit. Now, when you are working with paints that are different from your watercolors, I wanted to show you something. We are not going to use our palette lid like we did in a previous project to do our paint wash, because you don't want to mix different types of paints together or they won't work as well. So I just have a paper plate here, and I'm going to put some paint on my plate. And I'm going to start with about a dime size worth of paint, because remember, you don't want to be wasteful. So start with between a dime and maybe a quarter size of amount of paint. And then you're going to dip your brush in, and then you're going to start painting your leaf. And you want to make sure that you paint every single part. So get your sides, your edges. If your leaf has notches, make sure that you get in those notches so that they're covered. And you're going to do this around and over your entire leaf, but not the back side. We want to save that for something else. So continue painting, and you're actually going to do 2 coats of your paint on your leaf. And you can see where I got started right here, that I'm trying to make sure that I get in. Oh, I missed a spot right there. So I'm going to get in this notch really well, so that when I look at my leaf dish, I'm just seeing the color. I'm not seeing the dry clay. And there, we've started painting. So 2 coats, and you're going to let it dry. And then after it is dry, you're going to have a beautiful dish that you can use for many things. If you were to give it to someone special, they might be able to use it to place their rings in it, or something that would be a treasure to them. And then if we look on the back side of our page, you're going to see that we're going to do our last step. After it's all dry, your paint is dry, your clay is dry, take a black marker and write your name, and maybe even the year or the grade that you're in, so that when you look at this clay leaf dish several years down the road, you'll know that, hey, I made this leaf dish in 3rd grade art class. And then you can give that leaf dish to somebody special, because it's going to have a lot of worth and value to it when you give it to that special person. Now, I wanted to tell you a couple things as we talk about clay, and as we finish up with our leftover clay. You're going to want to be careful as you use clay, because clay can get a little bit messy, but I want you to make sure that you're handling it correctly. So when you are finished and you have clay on your hands, don't just go right to the sink and wash your hands, because those clay pieces are going to go down the drain and it could cause problems in your drain. So take a hand wipe, or maybe even some sanitizer, and wipe your hands first, and then you can wash your hands. But then that way your clay is not causing problems in any of your plumbing. So that will help as you're taking care of your clay. And then when you're taking your leaf dish, and let's say you do want to give it as a gift to someone, make sure that you wrap it up so that it doesn't break. Because if something bumps it, it could break, especially if you have a stem piece or you have an edge. Make sure that you wrap it in paper or put it in a nice bag so that it won't shift around and bump. And then that way it'll be all ready when you give it as a gift to that person.